did suggest that it was, and I quote, a worse case scenario. By no means certain, and quite the opposite, but it did exist as a possibility. So joining me to discuss that and more, I'm delighted to say, is Angela Knight. Angela is the former CEO of Energy UK, former Conservative Member of Parliament, and indeed former Minister as well. On the energy front, Angela, do you see anything to be optimistic about on price and supply in the near future, or is Juliet Samuelson in the Telegraph right?
I think she's taken the worst case scenario, and I don't think it is inevitable that we will have a shortage of electricity, because it's electricity that's the one that you can switch off, not gas. So I don't think it is a dead cert by any manner of means. What is very clear, though, is that this year is going to be a tighter winter than last year, for all the obvious reasons that we've all been discussing over the summer. For the UK, we are in a much better situation than most of other European countries for two reasons. Either, in most other European countries, they're not directly connected to the North Sea. They haven't got, if you like, their own gas supply, and most of them haven't actually got the ports facilities where you can bring in liquefied natural gas, so-called LNG, by tankers. The second thing is at least we've got electricity generated by a number of different routes. We've got nuclear, we've got gas, we've got wind, we've got solar, and we've even got a bit of coal left. Again, other countries have a difficulty there. And France, which of course has been the great exporter of electricity across Europe in winter, it's got a load of its power stations down, and by no means is it going to get them all back up.
No, and importantly, France well ahead of us on nuclear, because the other side of Juliet's argument, where I think we both agree she's absolutely right, is that the supply side, the government are beginning to make the right noises, but these things take time, whether it's new issues of licences for North Sea exploration, oil and gas, or whether it's fracking. I mean, government, they could be a bit bolder on fracking as well, couldn't they? There's stuff that can be done. It needs to be done now.
Yes, although it's not going to help for this winter. And one of the things that needs to be done is the small-scale nuclear power station, Alistair. We keep talking about we need nuclear, and of course people tend to think of these socking great nuclear power stations that take, 10, 12, 15 billion pounds to build and 10, 12, 15 years in order to get them up and running. Something of that size, apart from the time scale, of course, can only really be built off a government's balance sheet, either ours or somebody else's, because you're spending all that money and it's years and years before you start earning an income. But the small scale ones can be built in 2-3 years, and they cost 2-3 billion. That means that you can get investment from the private sector, from pension funds, from investment funds, put them on the same sites as existing nuclear, or where we have got nuclear power stations that we're now switching off because of age. And then, you've got your connections direct on the grid, and a lot of other things fall into place. So I say, get on with it, because we do need that form of low carbon electricity. People who say just carry on building wind, we should have built more wind, have forgotten that the wind does not blow all the time. Indeed. We have to be realistic about this.
I totally agree with that. Final point, and it's a quick one. I think we're totally agreed that there's an agenda there. We want more action, and we want it fairly urgently. I said in the intro that, apart from being an old friend of mine, you're a former Tory MP and a former Treasury Minister as well. Is this a government currently so distracted by having its budget knocked about and criticised for bankers' bonuses and the rest of it, that it runs the risk of not being in government, even if it is in power?
Yeah, I mean, that is a bit of a worry, and hopefully they'll get over that quickly. We forget that, of course, this government's only been there about 4 weeks. It just seems to be everything that's happened in that 4 weeks. So and Parliament's not even back yet. So there's an element which has said, give them a chance. But I do think, they have to get onto this agenda, because if we just sort of face into the winter, what you can do about avoiding blackouts is you can have discussions with the business community, with shopping with office blocks, all those things which use a lot of electricity. Do we really need to have the shopping malls as warm as they are? Do the office buildings need to be, fully lit at night and have the air conditioning, the heating on? Can we stagger the start and the finish of business during the day so you don't have a huge, great pull at 6 or 7 in the morning and another one in early evening? Of course you can. But that requires government to get engaged, and I hope they will.